Hi, I'm Dubba. I'm the director of Music Tech Fest, and this is the MTF podcast. So, for background, Music Tech Fest's not so much a place where people come to show off the things that they've made or sell their shiny new products to you, but it's to start new things with new people. Things that might go on to have a bigger life beyond Music Tech Fest. It's about collaboration across different disciplines, working with brilliant people you might not otherwise have imagined you'd ever work with, and creating things you might not have expected, and then those things going on to become significant, to have a life beyond the MTF labs, creating entirely new markets, addressing grand challenges. That's kind of the whole point of what we do. It's what we mean when we say innovation. So I want to introduce you to someone who really captures a lot of what MTF is about. He's an artist, an engineer, a music producer, an educator. He's someone who will try new things to see if they'll make the world a better place, and he's someone who totally gets the value of collaboration. Tim Palm is DJ Arthro. He drives a spaceship. He builds things with software and electronics. He's a drummer. He produces and releases dance music and performs it live. What he tends not to do quite so much is use his arms to make any of those things happen. The Arthro in DJ Arthro is short for arthrogryposis multiplex congenita, which is why Tim uses the wheelchair and why, when he plays music, mostly he's playing it with his nose. Tim teamed up with some other brilliant MTFers at our labs in Stockholm last year, and those collaborations have resulted in him starting a new company, winning financial and business support for his team's invention from the university incubator KTH Innovation, heading to London to play a sellout live show. His music's been featured on the BBC radio. It's been picked up as the theme to a new weekly podcast to promote Stockholm City that's going to be released soon, and why he'll certainly be back to the next MTF labs in Stockholm in September, which I'll tell you more about and how you can get involved right after the interview. Here's DJ Arthro. Tim, thanks so much for joining for the MTF podcast.
Nice to be here.
So you're known as DJ Arthro.
Yes.
I want to unpick that a little bit. Why DJ?
Because the thing is, my artist name comes from my diagnosis, which is arthrogryposis multiplex congenita in Latin. So if you search arthro, which is a Latin word, you get all this like medicine. You get all this like foot salvation and all this kind of weird stuff. So I wanted to have some way to like not find the medical stuff when searching for my name,
right?
But still have the diagnosis name in the artist name.
Okay, so
by putting DJ in front of it, absolutely, you find me and not medicine.
Because what you do is more like DJing than it is like MCing, for instance.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's not really DJing what you do.
No, but when I started, I didn't know that it wouldn't be.
Okay.
I started to like producer, and when I didn't know stuff, it was like, a producer is a DJ or a DJ is a producer. So I thought like I should be called a DJ because I will play on stage.
Right.
And then the first gear I bought for like playing live was this DJ equipment.
Was it like Pioneer decks?
It was a Pioneer DDJ Wego. It's a small one because my arms can't really reach for the big one. So I bought a small one and then mapped it and made it like function for me.
Okay.
So I had like the functionality of the bigger ones mapped into a smaller one.
All right. This is an audio format. So describe what the limitations that you're talking about are for somebody who can't see you right now.
So my diagnosis basically it makes my joints unable to move. It's like 30 degrees movements like in arms and legs. And because of that, my muscles also loosen strength.
Right.
So it's like a two-part situation. So I'm sitting on a like special built wheelchair, and I'm performing with my nose mostly.
Right. So you have sort of limited range of motion of the limbs, but a flexible face. So you can actually operate gear like that. So let's talk about your gear. Somebody like me who recognizes that it's an iPad, but not necessarily the software that you're using, what's actually in the rig?
So if we start with the iPad,
sure.
The main application is called Touchable, which is an app built to integrate with Ableton, which is like the main software I use. So it's fully integrated, so I can control the MIDI software, can control the CC and the everything, like fully functional, launching clips, and changing BPM and everything. And I can rearrange it however I want. So if I want big buttons, I can get big buttons if I want.
Right.
So I have this like template that I use to perform.
Okay. But there's more going on than an iPad on your rig.
Then I have it's a big one. It's like a half circle of gear.
You're sort of, it's right around, it's like Rick Wakeman kind of.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a synth as well. It's the Yamaha Reface synth, which is the only synth I've found with no knobs, only like up and down sliders. Because turning knobs with your lips is quite difficult.
I can imagine.
You can't make a 360 with your head.
That's true.
That's impossible.
Yeah, for sure.
So having this just up and down sliders for everything like gives me full control over the synth.
Yep.
And I found it like 4 years ago now, I think. And I was like, I have to buy this one because it's quite boring to just have this software synths.
Yeah. So you've got physical synth in your rig, but with the up and down sliders.
Yeah.
An iPad, obviously a laptop somewhere.
Yeah, and the laptop it's an all-in-one computer, a 23-inch touchscreen.
Okay.
Like in the middle of the rig.
Yep.
So I have like Ableton, a full screen there.
Yeah.
So if I need to change something or like if it crashes, I need to be able to reach the computer.
Right.
But I'm not using the computer as an instrument. It's more like a backup safety.
Okay.
Because if the computer would crash, I need to be able to by myself go in and change settings or do stuff like that. I don't want to call up an assistant or someone else to help me.
Sure.
So I built it to be able to control everything.
And the whole rig itself, which surrounds you on stage, but you sort of move around from sort of one part to another, you call it the Spaceship.
Yeah, I call it a Spaceship.
Why?
It's funny because I had a gig. And I just called it the rig at first.
Yeah.
But then someone that have no idea about electronic music came up to me. What will you do with your spaceship? And I was like, yeah, it kind of looks like a spaceship. It's like the control room. And then I just went with it.
Right, okay.
And it's way more, it's like explaining it as a complicated spaceship is way better than saying, yeah, it's a rig with synths and loop stations and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
The people that don't know, they don't know.
Right.
So you're saying the spaceship, they'll be like, oh, that's cool.
That is cool.
And it's like, I feel like I'm controlling a spaceship because like so many parameters to control and like it's an entire system built that I have in my head. So it's sort of like controlling a spaceship.
Fantastic.
I think I haven't controlled a real spaceship, so I wouldn't.
You imagine?
No,
But you do have a technical background.
Yeah. I study at KTH now to become a teacher and engineer in maths and computer science.
Okay.
And I studied like technique for gymnasium, it's called in Swedish. Technique for 3 years.
Okay.
So I didn't want to study music because I felt like I would learn music by myself.
Right.
I didn't want to ruin it with studies. Because studies become boring after a while.
Right, okay.
I don't want to have music be like boring and I have to do.
Right.
I want to do it because
you want
I
music
want
to be your hobby.
Yeah. Maybe profession later. But at that time it was like hobby.
Right. You do have quite a kind of a technical approach to the making of the music, even though the music itself is creative.
Yeah, totally. So it's like, because I have this technical approach, I try to try different stuff. What happens if I connect this to this? What happens if I plug like the synth into my vocoder and then back in? And the technical approach, but still creative.
Yeah.
And also, I rearranged the software. I used two softwares when I perform live. I used Tractor by Native Instruments and Ableton. And like 4 years ago, they couldn't sync.
Right.
Now there is this link that syncs them automatically, but not back then. So I found an internal MIDI clock that could be downloaded, and I mapped both those to the software and had them sync internally. Like this wasn't normal back then. So I had this like one of a kind sync.
So you kind of hacked it.
Yeah, I hacked it to be able to trigger loops and sync with my DJ set.
So where did this start for you? What was the kind of the seed that went, you know what, I want to set up a electronic music rig and perform?
Okay, so I had no idea that was my plan. I started as a vocalist, taking singing lessons. Went on to try guitar, failed miserably. I thought that would be able to play with my feet because I play Guitar Hero with my feet.
Right. Okay.
And I thought it would be the same thing, but 6-string and not impossible, but an unlimited amount of ways to put your toes or feet, fingers on. So I played the Smoke on the Water riff.
Okay.
I was like, now I'm done. Now I've done this.
So what you're saying is you're as good as me on the guitar.
Yeah. And then I thought, like, as a normal person I am, drums. With these limbs that can't move, I should play drums.
Right.
Makes total sense.
Of course.
Everyone thought I was an idiot. But me and my dad, he's an engineer and like looks at this in a like technical way as well.
Sure.
Thought like there should be some digital drum that you could use. So we went to a music store, bought one of those early Roland hand drums.
Okay, yeah.
And then I applied for drumming lessons, and thought like this will be so good. I have a plan. I can drum. I could make this before taking drum lessons.
Yeah.
So I went there. And when I went into the classroom first time, it was this 60-year-old guy. And I panicked at first because I wanted a young one, like new in technology, like.
Yeah.
But this guy, he's a pioneer in electronic music. In his house, he has the first electronic drum. He's like working with Nordrum. He has all the drum machines. And it's like,
so he was absolutely the right guy.
And he was like, oh, this will be fun. He took it as a challenge to make me able to be a great drummer.
Okay.
And then I went on to wanting to be able to loop stuff.
Yeah.
Because like this engineering mind of mine went like, what can I do to make this even more?
Yeah.
So and when I started to look into looping, I found out that music software would be the best possible way because I can sync it with like metronome and stuff.
Yeah.
Because with limited movement, I can't press multiple buttons.
Right.
So I had to find a way to trigger the loop, and then start drumming, and then end the loop, and still have it in sync, which won't work with these like Bose foot controllers.
Okay.
Because then you have to press at the same time you start drumming.
Right. Yeah. Gotcha.
So then I bought Ableton, and from there on, I just like looked into everything that was in electronic music. Oh, a launch pad would be nice. Oh, synth would be nice. Oh, this AKI MPK mini piano would be nice. I can't play piano, but a piano would be nice. And so on and so on. Until I finally had like a first rig.
So you're a gearhead, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you like the kit.
I like the kit.
So just to sort of clarify what you're making at this point, because the way that we're talking about it and the experimentation and the plugging this into that and see what happens makes it sound like you would be making very experimental avant-garde music, and you're not.
No, I'm not.
No, tell me about the music that you make.
So it's based in the like electronic dance music scene. So yeah, like not pop music, but you can hear it on the radio at like Tomorrowland scene. It's like that's the core.
Right.
But then I like to experiment, as we said. So like the latest EP, I have this combination of jazz and electronic dance music.
Yeah, there's a real. I mean, you say it's not pop music, but there's a real pop sensibility to it. I mean, it fits on the radio.
Yeah, exactly. It fits on the radio, but it's not like you wouldn't hear it on the radio before. It's like it's like a new.
It's not out of place, but it's not the same as what else is
exactly.
There. Yeah. Interesting.
Because I realized that I don't want to make pop music. I want to make music that I like, but I have influences in pop music.
What are they?
For example, Ed Sheeran, because he uses a loop station and a great lyricist.
Yeah.
So that being able to take the stage by himself and all that is like a huge inspiration. And then like sounds from Daft Punk is like those vocoders is like I love them so much. So like vocoder and also the Swedish duo Galantis make like really they like house pop music. Like every single one of their tracks are amazing.
Wow.
So that's like the main inspiration.
You mentioned your dad. Tell me about your parents and what they do has affected where you've ended up.
Okay, so my mom is this really driven person. She wants the best for everyone, and she knows she's able to like raise her voice if it's needed, and everyone respects her, and she knows how to get things done. So every time when I want to do something, say I wanted to play music, well, go apply then.
Yeah,
go ahead, but make sure you also study. Make sure you have a plan B to survive.
Sure.
So she has always been this. You should do it, but you should also know what you're doing. Like both of this craziness and this realist in one person, which is quite an interesting combo.
Yeah,
which is totally fantastic. So all the pusher and the realist in once. My dad is more like he's a technical guy. He's a thinker, not a doer in the same way. Sorry, Dad. He's a thinker. He's like, okay, so Tim has this problem. He can't reach his iPad. How can we fix that? Or
right.
I found this new thing on the internet. Have you checked this out? And more like not into music. He's like the real gear guy. So he's like most of the things. He's like, oh, you should buy this. And, yeah, I should. So more like the technical background.
Sure. Where does the musical interest come from, do you think?
They are dancers. They met as dancers, both of them.
Right, wow.
So it's like always been music in the house, but as dance. So I think like the rhythmical feeling comes from dancing.
I think actually there's a lot more to it than that. When you put those things together, you get the gearhead, you get the person who will just have the confidence to go out and do stuff, like you're getting up on the stage by yourself, which not a lot of people really want to do, to be honest with you. And kind of the musical instrument, and that it's dance music. Those things all kind of fit together really in a really interesting way.
Yeah, that's true. I haven't really thought about it in like the bigger image, but it's...
Yeah, it kind of it pieces together nicely.
Yeah.
So what's the big plan?
So the big plan would be like to live on music, like in the long range, to be able to like have the music be my living, also the hobby. Because I used to say that plan A is music, plan B is engineering, and plan C is teaching. It's quite it's quite a great plan. Yeah, quite difficult plan as well. But
I suspect you'll figure out a way to do all three of those things simultaneously as well. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. The ship, the spaceship.
Yeah,
you took that ship idea and you've applied it elsewhere as well. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, because I wanted to have a theme and everything. And so I felt like, why shouldn't everything be a sort of a ship related? So I had the spaceship, and then when I released my like first series EP, like let's call it Friendship, and have this ship ending, and also with this like because I had a lot of support from my friends. I made the music myself by then, but friends supporting and all of that, and I had this. Every song was quite different, and I had this feeling of different friends. So when I heard one song, I thought of a friend. So I thought like calling it Friendship would be nice.
Yeah.
And then when I released the new EP now, I thought I want to do the same kind of thing, keep the theme going. And this time I've collaborated with a lot of musicians and like partners in crime or something like that. So Partnership was the name for that EP. Because it's like collaborated with vocalists and with musicians and studio guys and master guys, and so it's like felt right to call it Partnership.
So that's just out now.
Yeah, yesterday.
Right. Wow. So at the point of recording it is yesterday. When we hear it on the podcast, it might be a week or two back.
So
but
it's the 24th of April. So now you know exactly.
Exactly, and it's already had some coverage and some. You've had some airplay and.
Yeah, it was played on BBC Radio, which is quite amazing.
Yeah, and hopefully gets picked up from there. People can get it on Spotify and you're elsewhere. You can buy it online.
Well, iTunes and Amazon and stream on Spotify. Should
we listen to a track from it?
Yeah.
What should we listen to?
We should listen to I talked about the jazz one, so we should listen to that one.
Uh-huh.
It's called First Time.
So that's First Time by DJ Arthro, and you can get that on Spotify and Apple Music and basically anywhere you can get music.
Yeah.
Tell me about the recording of that. How did that happen?
So I met a guy who had a studio in Stockholm, 15-minute walk from KTH.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, hey, can I use the studio for 2 or 3 days to record my vocalists?
Yeah.
And he was like, sure, if you help me edit video, I'll give you the studio. So it's like, I help him, he helps me, sort of deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I plan everything, I book the vocalists, so they will go to Stockholm and everything.
Uh-huh.
And then he mentions it's like 50 stairs down. Right. And now you're listening, but I'm in a wheelchair, right? So these 50 stairs are like quite a challenge.
Each one of them is an obstacle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's like, I want to do this. It's like 3 days of studio is like dream for that price. It's not even a price. It's a deal for a deal.
Yeah.
So I make sure that I have 2 assistants with me so that they can carry me down.
Oh, wow.
Because this needs to be done.
Sure.
So they carry me down.
Yeah.
It takes quite some time. I have to open doors, like stop on the way and everything. And it's quite a task.
Yeah, I bet.
And then when we're down there, after we're going to eat lunch, we have to get up again. but then nah, we'll just order food here. But there was no toilets down there. And I didn't want to like stop the recording session to go up the stairs. So I was like, no, I'll do this. I manage this. So it's like 3 long days.
Well, I bet. Wow. And where did the collaborators come from?
From all over the place. Some of the guys are from my city where I live. Where I lived. I live in Stockholm now, but where I lived like 2 months ago.
Which is?
Enköping.
Yeah.
So I had this guy. We started taking drum lessons together, but then quit after like a year or two. But he went over. We wanted to jam a bit.
Yeah.
And I showed him this track that I'm working on. And I told him I have this idea of sort of a rock combination of rock and like trap music. And he was like, well, let's record some electric guitar then.
Yeah.
So he plugged in the guitar and we recorded this like really distorted guitar over it.
Yeah.
Which you can now hear on the track I Don't Mind. So we put the background down, and then I sent it to a vocalist that I've played on the same stage with. I was like, hey, I know you're quite a rock singer. I know you sing really well. Wanna sing on this track? And then we went to the studio together, like quite simple. And the other 2 vocalists are from KTH.
Okay.
So we studied the same program.
Yeah.
And I've heard them sing on like parties and
Okay.
on other
Yeah.
stuff. And I knew they were really good singers.
Yep.
So I just talked to them like, hey, I have this new EP coming out and I want to have you as a vocalist. Would you be up for it?
Sure. And you've written the songs, you've composed the lyrics yourself. And
It's different. For the song I Don't Mind, we did it together in my room. So we did the melody and everything together.
Yeah.
For the butterfly effect, I had this melody idea, but then we went together to write lyrics and like finalize the vocals and the melody for her voice.
Right. Butterfly Effect is kind of the hit single, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
But when it was finished, I was like, this is damn good.
Right.
Like it went way over my expectations. So I like, this needs to be promoted, because when I showed it to people, like friends and family, the reaction to that one was like way better than the others.
Yeah.
It's like my sister, she loves music. She loves my music most of the time, but she's more of a pop listener.
Yeah.
And she was like, this is a pop hit. This should be on the radio. Like people can sing to this.
Yeah.
So I felt like that was the right choice to do.
Fantastic. Should we have a quick listen to that?
Yeah, sure.
There is nothing changing tonight. Nothing ever change. It feels like I am always stuck on okay. The first brick to ever fall, creating a wonder wall. The initial condition of the dawning. I am always the butterfly.
That's the Butterfly Effect. And that's on your new EP, which is Partnership.
Yes, exactly.
So what's next for the EP? What's the agenda, and what goes beyond that for you? What's the sort of the roadmap for the musical output?
So now I want to play some gigs. I want to make an awesome live show with this EP and the previous EP, because now I have like a full hour music with music I'm really happy with. So it would be really nice to just go out and play gigs. And then I'm also working on people from Music Tech Fest, like Martine. She's a singer and a vocalist and writer as well. So we're working on a track together, and also had this other track. So I want to release like 2 sort of summer hits in the middle of summer. And then I'm working with a friend who's also named Tim. We want to make this Tim and Tim EP. And he actually sent over 7 track ideas yesterday. So the plan is to take the full summer, like totally music. I'll start like, I'll do talks, music. I'll see if, do music work full time.
Yeah.
I'm starting my own company as it is right now. As we speak, I'm starting the company.
Yeah.
So like full summer music, promotion, gigs, create music videos. So when the study starts later on, when the school starts, I'll have enough material to keep giving you guys material while studying.
Fantastic.
So build up this like repertoire of new music.
And hopefully we'll get you more involved in Music Tech Fest along the way as well.
Would be so dope.
Yeah. Now, tell me how you got involved in Music Tech Fest originally, because you came to MTF Stockholm and you were involved in the labs. How did that happen?
Okay, so my friend who I live with right now, we've been really close friends since KTH, and he just sent me a link. Like, hey, I found this on like Facebook or something, and it's like music and tech. It's like, it's what you do, man. You should apply. And I was like, it was a half a year before the actual MTF labs.
Right.
So I pressed it and like, sure, let's apply. So I just typed in my information and stuff, sent it in and forgot about it.
Right.
And then like a month before the MTF labs, I got this mail. You've been selected to work with 90 people from all over the world with this AI professor, this super cool guy doing that. And like, and I was like, and I'm just me. What should... But sure, I'll go there and see what happens. And then I went there, and it was like, I felt like home, like the first second I entered the space.
Yeah.
So it's like just a coincidence that my friend found it and sent me a link.
What do you mean it felt like home?
Well, it's like, I don't have that many friends in technological music. I have quite a lot of musician friends, but not in the electronic and producing area.
Sure.
And not this geeky gear area at all.
And people making stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which is part of what you do. I mean, you're assembling things,
exactly.
not just using musical instruments.
Exactly. So I'm like reimagining them sort of and editing them to work as I want them to. So when I got there, and we posted a blog post before the actual labs, and people came up to me like, "Oh, I read your blog post. It was really nice reading."
Cool.
It was like just this really nice welcoming, and everyone was interested in the rig and how it worked, and when I had questions about anything, they could answer. And there was this guy making a face synth. That was his plan, so it could like control the music via face movement.
Okay, yeah.
And I was like, that would be so cool. Imagine to go out from the rig and just have close-up camera to the face and just like doing this weird face movement, and adding that to like a dubstep bass. Like, it would have been such a cool. So like, I got ideas from them, they got ideas from me, and it all just came up to a big inspirational week.
Right. Wow. Was that Leon Trimble's selfie synth?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. But you ended up working with a couple of other people, Vahaken particularly.
Vahaken and Tim Yates.
Tim Yates,
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me what you did.
So what we did, we started an accessibility team first. Tried to what can we do for an accessibility area.
Yeah.
And then when we had this who are we in this team? I told them about my rig, and I think it was Amy Dickens right off the bat asked, "What is your problem with the rig?
Right.
What do you need solved?" And I've been thinking about a lot of stuff. So I just went on with I want to solve this, I want to solve that.
Right.
And then there was this one thing that everyone was, but that can be solved, which is the looping that I want to do on the beat. I told you before about the problems with looping on time.
Starting and playing at the same time, yeah.
But we've started to think about, can that be solved? And we figured when I don't use my hands, if the button is placed correctly, I should be able to trigger at the same time as my nose is touching the screen. Right. Because it's this forward-leaning movement, so my hand could land on the button at the same time as I lean towards the screen.
If the button's in the right place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was the...
Because normally the button would be on the interface that you've got in front of you.
And that I use with my nose, and I can't press two buttons at the same time with one nose.
Yes, for sure.
That's one of the few impossible things that really is impossible.
Yeah.
So we started to think if we could put a small button setup on my wheelchair and map it wirelessly to Ableton, because if it's a wire, then it will get stuck on the wheel.
Yeah.
So it had to be wireless. It had to be integrated with my already existing setup, and it had to be precisely put. And then we had an idea. So we went to the workshop, took the measurements, and started 3D print laser cutting, and adjusting it to the exact right position. Me and Vahaken and other people. And meanwhile, Team Yates had this microbit that he started to implement into Ableton. So that is 2-team situation.
Right.
And then at the end of the MTF labs, it was a showcase. And they wanted me to showcase this new loop tree. They wanted me to showcase it. And we had it done 5 minutes before the showcase.
I'm laughing, but that's so typical of MTF labs.
I know. I've been in the same situation many times before MTF as well.
Yeah.
But this is a new way to play.
Right.
If it would have been just configuring the iPad or configuring the synth, I would have known how to do it.
Sure.
But now it's this situation of, it's a new way to play. I need to be able to create everything on the fly, and I need to deliver.
How did it go?
It's so funny because I think it went horrible. But everyone stood up and clapped.
Not only because I was there. Not only did people stand up and clap, people stood up and danced.
Yeah.
And because the challenge, part of the challenge that you seemed to be trying to get around was that you have your spaceship there, but nobody can see you.
Yeah.
But what this gave you was some freedom of movement to get out from behind the screens and actually interact with the audience a little more.
Exactly.
And that worked really well.
Yeah.
But from there, I mean, that wasn't the end of the story though, because then that got picked up from there.
Exactly, because when we were done, we thought we want to develop this further, and then KTH Innovation had this competition in collaboration or coincided at the same time as Music Tech Fest.
Yeah. Yeah, it was part of the kind of the Music Tech Fest
exactly.
prize that they were supporting. Yeah.
So I was we could just send this in. It's 50,000 Swedish crowns. That would help because they are from London. I'm from Sweden. Just meeting up again without having to pay from CSN would be quite nice. So we just sent it in with this fancy brochure and everything.
Yeah.
And they wanted a meeting.
Okay.
So we set up a meeting. We talked to them, showed them the prototype and everything.
Yeah.
And then, a few weeks later, they told us we'd won.
Well, congratulations for that. Did they see commercial potential in this? Is this something that can be applied more broadly?
Yeah, that's sort of the the thought, we have like 2 goals. One goal is to make a really well-functioning one for me to use on stage.
Sure.
Because this one is a bit unstable. And the other one, we have this idea of creating a do-it-yourself kit.
Right, okay.
It's like the thought we have.
So that it can be really customized,
Yeah.
I guess.
And if it will be released or not, we don't know. But that's sort of the thought. Because there is the thought we have, if it can be customized to everyone, then everyone can have a looper at hand. And it won't have to be for just disabled people. It could be if you want to loop while playing guitar. It's a 4-button setup, really small. You could like tape onto the guitar and play with your fingers and trigger looping at the same time.
Right.
Or you could put it on a wheelchair and either have buttons, or there is this thing like paint that's is conductive. So you have like electric paint.
Yeah.
And then you can put this like microbit anywhere on the wheelchair and just paint to where you want your buttons.
Right.
So say if I can't use my arms at all, I can just have it at my neck. Like 3 stripes, left, right, and middle, and just like bop it with my head.
Yeah.
It would be possible.
Sure, of course.
So that's like the thought behind the commercial part. And if it will go through, it will be that. I can't tell you now, but it's a really nice concept.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think things are getting better generally for accessible music technologies?
Yeah, I'd say so. If you're ready to make the search, there's a lot of new stuff coming out. Like every year at NAMM or like other ways, like it's always new stuff coming out.
Yeah, and people are starting to think about it more seriously, I guess, too.
Yeah. So it's both this people think about it, and also more stuff. So with this like new time, I can search for stuff. Like if I want a slide synth, I can just search for synth with sliders, and now that's more of a thing.
Right.
And because there are lots of stuff, I can find what works for me. The problem with disabilities is that each disability has their own problematics and own functionality. So I don't expect anyone to have made something that works for me.
Right, specifically designed for you. Because I guess a limited range of motion could mean anything.
Exactly. It could be like full control of fingers, and then you would be able to play like finger drumming. Or it could be like one arm not working, then you could play a one-hand guitar. Like.
So what should musical instrument manufacturers be thinking about?
I think it should be most about customizability. Maybe not in the hardware, because that's super expensive, but in software. That's not impossible. Say if I want to have buttons to do other things, or like sensibility, because lots of drum machines are really tough to hit. I have to use my full strength to get it sound like lowest velocity.
Right.
So it's maybe not changing the gear layout, because there are already a huge amount of innovative tools. But make sure that they can be used with different strength or different...
Right, different sensitivities on velocity pads makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Because I can't play drum machines with my lips, because I have to hit them like full on with my face.
Right.
So as it is now, touch
it's not ideal.
Is the only solution.
Right.
But if there would be like softer buttons, then I could get this like feeling of pressing a button, which would be quite nice.
Because a touch screen is basically an on-off scenario.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Whereas if you got the expressiveness of a touch-sensitive button, but one that you didn't have to smash your face into every single time you played it, that would be...
So that's like, I would think that will help a lot of people, because people can have weak hands. That's like almost every physical disability has like weak muscles in some way.
Sure.
So just having this easy to turn knobs and simple to press buttons would be quite dope.
Right. And obviously people can get hold of you through your Facebook page if they come up with a solution to this.
Yeah, of course. And I'd love to help as well. I have this engineering, I'm not an engineer yet, but I'm becoming one, and have this like engineering thinking. So if you want to feedback or discuss ideas, I'd love to.
Fantastic. Tim, thanks so much for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
Brilliant. That's Tim Palm, aka DJ Arthro, and that's the MTF podcast. Have a great week, and we will talk soon. Cheers.